So today's gospel reading comes from Mark, again, chapter 4, verses 26 through 34. And today's gospel goes like this. Jesus said to the crowds, "This is how it is with the kingdom of God. It is as if a man were to scatter seed on the land and would sleep and rise night and day, and the seed would sprout and grow. He knows not how. Of its own accord, the land yields fruit, first the blade, then the ear, then the full grain in the ear. And when the grain is ripe, he wields the sickle at once, for the harvest has come." He said, "To what shall we compare the kingdom of God? Or what parable can we use for it? It is like a mustard seed, that when it is sown in the ground is the small seeds on the earth. But once it is sown, it springs up and becomes the largest of plants and puts forth large branches, so that the birds of the sky can dwell in its shade." With which such parables he spoke the word to them, as they were able to understand it. Without parables he did not speak to them, but his own disciples he explained everything in private. So we're kind of back in this. We hit a couple days ago again, more parables about seeds. And then we jump into this light. And then today we go back to planting seeds. And we get the mustard seed story, which is a very famous parable. But in today's gospel, we hear about how faith is. And then we hear the action of our faith in the same gospel. So how does our faith grow? In trust. So Jesus, in his own wisdom, said, "I'm going to speak to my people in parables," because they couldn't understand. How many times in our faith do we sit there, like, I don't understand what the heck's going on here. I thought this, and now I'm being told this and this, and I guess I was wrong. Or, especially with Catholics, how is this truly the body, blood, soul, and divinity of Christ? Or how is this, or how is that? And the answer is faith. And that's what we call it mystery in the Catholic Church. It's the mystery of faith. And one of my favorite parts in the Mass is when the priest proclaims the mystery of faith, and the people say, "We proclaim your death, O Lord, and profess your resurrection until you come again." That, if you had to sum up our duty in our lives, it is that very strong wording, that very strong message that we send. The reason why I say it is because that's our call. We proclaim your death, Lord. So we proclaim Christ crucified. We proclaim your death, O Lord, and profess your resurrection, your triumph over the dead, and showing us what our lives will be like in our faith, that we will die to ourselves, and we will rise again. We will rise in new life through baptism, through the sacraments, through faith and prayer. And how long should we do this? Until you come again. And that's how our faith grows. That's how our little bit of faith, the little plant that God sows in our hearts, that it grows and grows and grows. We don't know how. We don't know why. I mean, we know why, but we don't know by ourselves. We don't know how we can do it or how we can grow. In the same way, in this parable, this farmer doesn't know how it happens. He wakes up and he sees it grow, and it's doing it. And that's faith. We don't know how it works, but when we feed it, when we nourish it, it grows in our heart. It grows, it continues to grow. So that when we are able to say and to sing and live out our lives in the very creed, when we say at the highest part of the Mass, when after the priest says, "This is my body, this is my blood, take and eat, take and drink." And then we proclaim why we do this, for strength to be able to preach the gospel, to live our lives according to the faith. And at that point, we all proclaim our call. We proclaim your death, O Lord, and profess your resurrection until you come again. That's not just words. That's our faith. That's a creed. That's our response to his grace, to his love in that Eucharist. That through this Eucharist, through here at the mystery, again, our faith, our mystery, we don't know, but we don't know everything. We don't know how and why the bread and wine become the body and blood, but we believe and we faith. And our joyful response is we proclaim your death, O Lord, and profess your resurrection until you come again. How beautiful is that? That's our response, that's our faith. And that's how we live it out, and that's how it grows and gets nourished. That we don't know how or why we have our faith. We don't know how or why everything works out. But when we nourish and trust and faith and read and grow in this faith, we are able to proclaim those words in true faith and true joy. We proclaim your death, O Lord, and profess your resurrection until you come again.